So I'm really hoping to see what Blid can pull out when he's on his safety serves against DeMu.
And it would be something that perhaps would favor him here because, well, we have seen Blid is in fact a Delhi enjoyer. He has played a lot of Delhi this season, as we have seen from his AOE4 world and practice games as well. Potentially, that is what he favors. I don't quite remember the draft if he has the Delhi. We're going to see it on the map here. He did in fact get the Delhi, and there we go. There we see the Delhi. We're just waiting to see our next map here, but looking at the options here, of course, it will be Blid's pick for the next map. Loser does pick the next map. We have seen just now Coastal Cliffs has been played. That was the first map. And we have some good options here for Delhi, without a doubt. Gorge, of course, a fantastic Delhi map, as we have seen often. Frigid Marshes, Delhi not so popular pick on there, but there is potential there. Of course, only 2 sacred sites does take away from one of Delhi's key strengths. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see here.
Now, Delhi is a civilization that you need to be very, very active with. And from what we saw with DeMu just now, I'm a little bit worried for Mr. Blid here. Because when you're Delhi, you control that feudal age. That is your strength. You need to make sure that you're controlling the sacred sites at all points. You're outproducing your opponent. You're constantly harassing. You're constantly pushing them back. And DeMu did choose Malians. Now, what is the usual Malians Delhi favor that it goes into?
The truth is, I think Mali struggles in this matchup from what we've seen. The amount of units that Delhi is able to mass in feudal age, and we have seen this time and time again so far across the months. In this match especially, we have seen it. It's just, it can get so oppressive. The amount of Ghazis and archers, which are, of course, boosted by the Tower of Victory's landmarks, 15% extra attack speed. It is in fact very notable, or in fact 20% if I'm not mistaken. And that's a lot of extra damage over the course of a fight. They fire a lot faster, and you know, it can really make a difference. It is possible for Malians to hold here, but it's definitely a matchup that favors Delhi, and Blid must be happy with himself for getting this one.
I am not expecting anything less from Mr. Blid. I would like to see him be the aggressor this game. I want to make sure that this man keeps the Malians on his toes, because I feel like with Malians, if you allow them to boom, even against Delhi, they might snowball. The moment the cows are in the pen, the food begins to roll. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a destruction if DeMu allows that, if Blid allows that to happen. So yes, again, DeMu choosing purple fits beautifully with this personality. Colorful. On the Malians, running around, trying to get as many sheep as he can. He even sent back a little greedy sheep, as you guys saw there. The moment the scout picked it up, he right-clicked on the TC, and that sheep is going straight for the TC. Very cocky move, I must say.
And that's a crucial detail as well. Quite often we see civilizations that do not start on berries. If you are able to discover a sheep quite close to your starting town center with your scout, if you can send that back and it goes safely under the TC without being snatched up by the opponent's scout, then all of a sudden you can go much deeper with your scout on their first rotation and pick up more sheep, either from your opponent's side or from your own side, before having to return for that age up. And it's a very, very useful perk to have. So good spot by DeMu, and well noticed to send back just in time.
Now, that is something I also struggle with myself, just getting that timing perfectly right. Because you guys can see those sheep running out under the TC. Right now, those villagers are desperately gnawing away at the food. But you can see they're like trying to say, hey, what is next? But luckily, he has just enough to start the age up. And the usual 5 on the Mansa Quarry age up will begin. Tower of Victory 4 from Delhi. I believe that's the standard, right? As a non-Delhi player, I need my expert consultation.
Absolutely. It's just so powerful, right? As we have spoken, 20% extra attack speed on the Tower of Victory for all infantry units that are produced from production buildings within the influence of a mosque. It's significant, and especially on archers, they just shoot so quickly. And in these extended feudal fights, that adds up over the course of them. And it can be very difficult, as we have seen, for Malians to hold. Of course, they have access to the javelin thrower, and this is most likely what we're going to see here. DeMu is going to look to make quite a steadfast hold against Blid's Delhi here, most likely. And, you know, the issue is, with that gold spawn for DeMu, protected by double wood lines, it will be pretty difficult for Delhi to actually find some damage here if he does not recognize the angles necessary.
Now, what usually makes Malians not that great against Delhi as well, because you guys might be asking yourself, but Delhi goes archers, right? And the Malians have javelin throwers. Delhi just goes so many archers. And with the javelin throwers overkill, you really struggle to get that real value that you usually get from the jabs. And with that extra attack speed, the jabs just don't hit like they're supposed to, you know? So DeMu, however, is a player who is fast. And I would say he's probably one of the people I can see microing those javelins quite perfectly against a bunch of Delhi archers coming his way. Now let's see what DeMu opens up with. We see he went for his lumber camp first. He didn't chop all the straggler trees around his base. So this means he's not really focusing on getting out a unit too quickly, because Delhi also takes a little while to get there. And now the villager goes all the way out and he goes for the pit mine first. That is quite an aggressive move. He just expects Blid to not be in his base that quickly.
A bold strategy from DeMu, definitely. Not only is the second pit mine very far forward beyond those two wood lines there that protect the inner core of his base, but, you know, going for the second pit mine, which is, of course, costs a lot of wood, before any production buildings to prevent against some early pressure from Delhi, is certainly very bold here from DeMu. We'll have to see if it pays off for him. It is a stable opening from Blid on the Delhi on the other side, with the Scholar inside for that improved military production. So those Ghazis will come out very, very quickly. And the reality is, if Blid is quick on the draw here, that villager will not finish the pit mine. And DeMu recognizes, of course, only 3 houses to surround the pit mine so far. And already we see Donzos on the way for DeMu to defend.
Now, Donzos are absolutely crucial in this moment, because DeMu knows that, okay, he scouted this out. Blid sees, oh, he was quite greedy. So he's instantly sending those Ghazi raiders forwards. But now the thing is, I think he just made a second blacksmith as well. So he's looking, I really hope I saw that correctly. So he's trying to get these upgrades pretty fast. Was that? Oh, no. Yeah, that's double blacksmith. Okay. So he's looking to be quite aggressive. Now, Delhi does have those free upgrades, but they do take a hot moment to kick in. And we can see DeMu already getting ready for that cow boom with the double mill right next to his base to start making those cows and putting them in their pens.
And that's what you want to do as Mali, really. Any time you have the space to add those cows inside the ranches, you want to do so, right? There is this one significant win condition here for Malians, although the matchup does not favor them directly. It is getting to the castle age with 4 cow ranches, right? Once the Grand Fulani Corral drops, the food income just skyrockets to unprecedented levels. I mean, they can begin spamming units incessantly, as we have seen so often before. But yeah, double blacksmith here from Delhi. This is most likely a timing-oriented play. We have seen once, of course, iron undermesh as well as steeled arrow, the first upgrades of choice from the blacksmiths for Blid. Once those come in, if he has a significant number of archers, this might be difficult for DeMu to contest, especially as we don't see any javelins in queue just yet.
Now, DeMu feels kind of comfortable. I think he's playing a very greedy game, not putting down the archery ranges yet, or having... Oh, the first archery range is out. Okay, DeMu. All right, then. He puts down that first archery range, but he has not started producing from it yet. He's just focusing on getting his cows. The javelin thrower gets queued up. But again, it feels like he's playing at his pace. He's just producing what he wants. He's not rushed. He knows, yes, Delhi might go get a sacred site or two, but I am not in a rush. The Donzos are ready, and they do snack a little bit on that Ghazi Raider. But keep in mind, guys, those things are going to be supported by some very good heals pretty soon.
Absolutely. Of course, quite a classic maneuver from Delhi that's possible. You pull back the injured Ghazi raiders from the midst of the fight to be healed by the scholars. And here we see perhaps a villager going down here for DeMu as the Ghazi chases in, and it will be a villager dead already. So 1 down for DeMu. Quite significant this early in the game.
Yeah, especially when you are just trying to get every little bit of resources so that you can live to tell the tale against a matchup that is definitely not in your favor. But I absolutely love the amount of Donzos he's got here. So the fact that they have those little sticks that they can throw early on just means they can contest these archers, and they are looking pretty good. I just don't think Blid has the mass to try and push this just yet. You guys can see he's currently floating quite a bit of resources, definitely overwhelmed by DeMu's units. He's trying to harass him, but at the same time not lose too much. He does queue up 2 more Ghazi Raiders, 1 archer, but he was floating a little bit of resources there. I think he might just be overwhelmed by the amount of things going on in DeMu's base.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing, like so many Donzos, and as you mentioned, Marika, they have that spear throw ability, don't they? So whenever that comes off cooldown, and it can do a lot of damage even to archers. If you don't have the archer numbers to match those Donzos, then reality is they can just peel back, throw their spears, which outrange the archers whenever they come online, and you know, suddenly you can find yourself bleeding some crucial units in this matchup here. The Sacred Sites now underway for Blid as well, so that will give him some crucial amount of gold income, which he can choose to either leverage into a castle age, but more likely he will eventually drop a market and sell resources in the form of gold quite aggressively to get wood, food to outmass DeMu, which is definitely what he looks to do.
The thing is, if you allow DeMu to just stay in feudal and force him to make units, eventually his cows are going to do a lot of work. They're going to give him that passive food, and he's just going to be in a lot of danger with the amount of units coming out of DeMu's base. And we do see DeMu ramping up production a little bit in his base. He's not putting in too much because he realizes Blid doesn't have as many units as he needs to, you know, to push down the Malians. So DeMu just getting that amount perfectly right, making sure that he can survive this. But now the archer mass is starting to get kind of scary from Blid. Now DeMu is at that point where he's getting enough javelin throwers to start shift-clicking archers and one-shotting them. So this might be a little bit dangerous from even a Ghazi Raider eventually will go down with enough javelin throwers, but look at those javelins just trying to find some good damage. And again, Ghazi Raiders just taking too much going down there at the front.
Yeah, big snipes on the Ghazis from the Donzos, as we see those spears that we talked about being hurled from them from great distance. Several Ghazis go down as well as archers. DeMu doing a good job so far of targeting the archers with the javelin throwers. Another engagement comes in. The Ghazis go directly into the Donzos. And oh no, so many go down here. Almost all of them fall. Only 2 get out alive with barely any health remaining. Another one fall. And the last one. All the frontline Ghazis for Blid have been killed.
And the thing is, this might look even to you guys. You see, oh, the armies are quite even. But we have cow economy in the back. DeMu is snacking on cows. And basically, this is just a free way to get food while Blid is bleeding resources. We're getting to that point where the pocket resources are expiring. He's going to need to go out on the rest of the map. We can see that those villagers under the TC are desperately trying to get some food just to make more units, but he's struggling. DeMu right now at 100 of 1,100 food per minute, while Blid is on almost 900. So this is going to change in army numbers very, very quickly. And we do see that. Just more javelin throwers coming in. Just more Donzos coming in. And those cow ranches are looking stacked.
As Vodka has shown us just now, already 15 cows for DeMu in those ranches. More on the way. After taking such a good fight early on, he must feel confident to add more and more. And again, the units from Delhi have ramped up again. I mean, we know this, right? Delhi is going to mass units very, very quickly, even after a not greatly favorable fight. Sacred Side does get decapped in the south by just 3 Donzos from DeMu's side, and in the north, actually. This is quite significant. Delhi can't really afford to lose the Sacred Sides at this stage of the game. They have to keep Malians pinned in their base, always under pressure. And we see good trades onto the Donzos by the archers as they get focused down. Many do fall. Javelins, in turn, hitting the archers aggressively as they start to fall. And big villager pull from DeMu here on the front line. Is he that confident that he's going to take this fight?
No, I think he's just misclicked, and a lot of these villagers will go down. I think that was just a misrally by DeMu, and
DeMu.
He's lost so many villagers. But it's Malians. They don't always need villagers.
6 villages down here for DeMu, but I mean, the reality is, does it really matter? As now the army count is getting closer and closer together, and that's not the kind of spot you want to be in as Delhi. You always want to be ahead in this matchup especially. And once again, Blid's army on the Delhi gets pushed away by those javelins as they keep hurling spears alongside the Donzos. Now contesting the middle sacred side, regrouping. Blid is back closer towards his base. 5 more Ghazis in Q6 archers. But the problem is, this Ghazi mass, it's looking a bit worrying for Blid. He hasn't the problem is it's so difficult to engage into this kind of composition from the Malians, right? I mean, it's tough to keep those Gazis alive and find the angles to engage, especially without, you know, potentially spears we have seen in the past being added by players as to serve as a pseudo front line for Delhi, because of course they don't take extra damage from the javelins like archers do, and they can sort of screen for those Gazis more easily and tank slightly for the archers. But yeah, exchanges back and forth here. DeMu doesn't want to press too far ahead now. He knows he needs to relax a little bit, just find his timing to age up, and after that he can really put on the pressure. But again, I mean, these javelins microing forward, he doesn't care about those two Gazis. He just goes forward, swallowing up these archers to the point where now on this front line, the javelins exceed the archers, Marika.
And I don't think Blid realizes this is a ticking time bomb. His siege engineering just kicked in, but that's not something that he's going to be needing anytime soon. He just needs more archers. See, the Ghazi raiders they just keep going down. But these archers at the front, we just don't see the numbers that the graph at the top is showing. It just feels like Malians' units, they're just restocking pretty quickly, even though the numbers aren't great. They're still keeping up, and they're able to counter these units so that the archers coming from the bottom just caught out, and that's maybe where our numbers were a little bit wrong, eh? If we put those bad boys together, that could have been a very different fight.
Yes, and that's the difficult part about being the aggressor in any kind of these matchups. Although the graph and the numbers may suggest you do have the lead, it takes, of course, a long time for those troops to reach the front line where the fight is actually happening. Again, we see another attempt of flanking by Blid here with the Gazis, but the numbers just aren't there, Marika. I mean, the archers are trying to focus at this point the javelins, because there's very few Donzos left actually protecting against the Gazis, because there aren't any more Gazis, the reality. And, well, when you're left with javelin throwers against Delhi archers here, sure, the Tower of Victory aura is very nice, but that's not really enough to offset this hard counter that is javelins.
Now, what I do like is the fact that Blid is target firing like a boss. This man is doing the best with what he's got. And I'm so happy to see that from someone who is very much the underdog in this matchup. So he's doing a good job for what is to be expected. And as I say this, the Ghazi runs into another Donzo. But again, he just needs to try and find a fight that he can collapse on. But the problem is the javelin numbers are so big right now. It's so difficult to actually break through those, because they can just one-shot the Ghazi at this point.
And that's the tough part. Like, you know, if you don't get a lead in these early skirmishes as Delhi, either militarily or in terms of eco, which, yes, he does have an eco lead, but that does not take into account the cows within the ranches, of course. If you don't get that lead as Delhi early and you start getting outmassed in feudal, it's a terrible spot to be in, right? I mean, it's, as you said yourself, Marika, it's a ticking time bomb at the end of the day, you know. Once that castle age comes in for DeMu with a Grand Fulani Corral, the food income will skyrocket so severely, whereas Blid, I mean, he's forced to rely on this exposed pocket food, which is dwindling by the minute here as more trading is happening in DeMu. I mean, he just feels confident to keep pumping units here in the feudal age, which is Delhi's best stage, as we know, and it just keeps going forward. Now, he's backing off a little bit. He realizes there's no need to get too over-anxious, and Blid, you know, Blid has tried his best here to put as much pressure on DeMu as possible, and it was looking favorable at the start, but maybe just miscalculated slightly at certain points here, and he's now getting outmassed.
And this is now the problem with Malians' sustainability. They just keep pumping out those units, while Delhi, on the other hand, they're pumping, but the pump is running out at some point, and that's exactly what's happening here. The Donzos that just keep coming through, just one or two, they are enough to keep those Ghazis at bay. Now these archers, you can see the fight. They're trying to win this, but I think Blid realizes I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding out, boys. And there's no coming back. The Ghazi's trying to focus on these javelin throwers, but they're really struggling. That poor little archer fighting for his life.
Less and less units here for Blid. Only 2 Ghazis and 2 archers now in the field for him. So much wood in the bank, and he's running out of food is the reality. We see pretty much his entire food economy is on that northern deer hunt now. And sure, he has that northern and southern sacred site under his belt, and we can see there in the gold income, he's probably desperately selling that gold for food and potentially for wood as well. I mean, he's going to have to get a farm transition going, but this is what we were talking about, Marika. We see Grand Fulani Corral, 22 villages on that landmark building it. So DeMu knows once he gets that up, gets his upgrades, this should be a done deal, and I'm very worried for what's to come for Blid.
Now, DeMu knows the moment he hits that age up, he queues up his upgrades and he just pushes. There's nothing stopping him. I think this is where Blid realizes, I am nowhere near castle. This is it.
Yeah, Blid recognizes the reality. I mean, once that castle comes in, so behind in units, he has the insight to understand. I mean, there's just nothing more that can be done from here. The time has passed. And suddenly, DeMu finds himself firmly in the lead with a 2-0, which is what a lot of people expected. But not all hope is lost here for Blid. There's still potentially more games that he can pick up as we go ourselves preparing for game number 3 here.
Now, game number 3 should still be okay for Mr. Blid because it is, again, his pick of the map, I believe. Yep. And he still has a comfort civ in his pocket. So let's see if he can pull DeMu out of his comfort zone. But now let's look at our graph. We can see here that Blid, he did have that military value lead at the beginning, but he just wasn't able to punish Malians early enough. And that skyrocketed so quickly. The moment you get ahead, there is no stopping. We can see when DeMu, unfortunately, may those villagers rest in peace, they got there at the 13-minute mark when he misrallied. And still, the cows carried him through. Once you have that cow economy set up, there is nothing stopping the Malians. But I want you guys to also notice the difference in resources. Again, when you are playing the Malians, you get that passive gold from the pit mines, and you can see that is a huge difference when Delhi is usually the one that's drowning in gold from those sacred sites.
A massive deficit here, nearly 6,000 extra gold for DeMu in comparison to Delhi there, which is somewhat to be expected, right? I mean, double pit mine working, passively granting gold, which sacred sites do the same, but not quite to the same rate here as we see. And, well, we saw by the villager graph, I guess DeMu deemed it worthy to sacrifice a few bodies for the grand glory of the Malian Empire here, but, well, in the end it was worth it.